Today marks the 177th Independence Day of Liberia, and we are excited that Liberians gather together to celebrate this Independence Day. So I know we are all tired, but at least the program has started. So we have musical interlude and city of attendees. We have passed that. So we will now come to opening prayer. It will be told by Liberian.
May we all stand as we honor the Lord. Heavenly Father, we say thank you for this day that you have made, as we rejoice and be glad in it. As we have come together today, we ask for a spirit of unity and your peace that surpasses all understanding to guard our mind and our heart. We ask as we have gathered today, we ask for your guidance, your wisdom, and your support as we begin this program. We ask, Lord, that you draw us closer to you, and we ask that you nurture the bond of our community in Jesus' name.
To record back, it will be done by our SG, Marcus W. Put your hands together.
So let me say good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon to our distinguished guests, student body, HOD, our outgoing chairman, and our incoming chairman. Let me say you guys are welcome. Then as we celebrate the 177th independence of our motherland, Liberia, you are most highly welcome. Feel free. Anything that you don't understand, ask anyone and we'll give you the answer. Thank you so much. You are most highly welcome to this program.
Thank you, respectful SG. I said, because I ain't carrying too many zeros. But anyway, okay. So we have the essence of the program while we are gathered here today, and it will be told by Patient School.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and fellow citizens, it is with great honor and pride that I welcome you all to today's celebrations of Liberia Independence Day of Liberians in Gisenyi, Rwanda. Today marks the 177th anniversary of our nation's independence, a day when we come together to honor our history, celebrate our achievements, and look forward to a brighter future. On July 26, 1847, our forefathers declared Liberia a free and independent nation, making it the first independent republic in Africa. This historical milestone is a testament to the resilient determinations and unity of the Liberian people. As we gather here today, we remember the sacrifices made by those who came before us and reaffirmed our commitment to the value of freedom, justice, and democracy. This Independence Day program is a reflection of our rich cultural heritage and diverse traditions. We have an exciting blend of event planned, including welcome remarks, recognition of guests, prom, panel discussions, color riding, cutting of cake, ludus, kickball, football, egg racing, and after parties fab. We hope these celebrations will not only entertain and inspire you guys, but will also strengthen the bond that unites us as one nation. Let us take this opportunity to renew our dedications to building a prosperous and peaceful Liberia upon our return to the motherland. Together, we can overcome any challenge and create a future filled with hope and opportunities for for all. Thanks for joining us, the Liberians in Gisenyi, in this celebration. May God bless Liberia. May our beloved countries continue to grow. Happy Independence Day.
Please put your hands together for patient. Our next acting here is poem by Jessica, Monique, and Christine Youngwood.
We are going to do a spoken word entitled The Unity, Resilience, and Liberian National Identity. This spoken word is dedicated to Mama Liberia as we celebrate the 177th Independence Day. In the heart of Africa. In the heart of Africa lies a nation of resilience, Liberia, the land of our ancestors breeding the 18th century. A declaration was made, independence was proclaimed.
In the hearts of Africa, far west along the Atlantic Ocean, a tale of unity and strength souls. Our history so strong has defined the whole Liberians.
Tears of joy fill the streets. Cries of freedom run clear. Liberia, the beacon of hope for all to be here. But beyond the celebration, a history of being, a centuries of oppression that scares.
For the land of liberty has given us hope. Through darkness, we have prevailed through trials and tribulations.
From the
hands in hands, we stand tall. We rise again, we rise against it all, sharing everything.
From the shoes of Monofia to the long green hill, the issues of our ancestors, their struggles, their pain, to break free from the colonial rule.
With hearts of courage, we march forward proudly and shamelessly, representing the names that the flag holds. Representing the names that the flag holds. We march forward with a heart pure as gold.
To reclaim their dignity, their culture, Liberia, a nation of land, fear of death, but yet still frightened, still standing for the better life.
Together we build, together we dream, together we form a great nation. From the depths of struggle we emerge. Liberian song is a powerful urge.
So let's celebrate. Community this day and never to be so.
With each new steps, with each new dawn, we march forward, we celebrate the progress we are on. Progress clinched in every stars with unity and resilience by our side.
Liberia, our God, Liberia, our proud, Liberia, our land. A reminder of the journey we have toured. Liberia, our land, Liberia, our freedom, Liberia, our God.
Oh Liberia, the land of the free. So freed you has given us a haven of peace. Your journey is a testament to see that through unity we find peace, and through resilience we crave our place.
Independence came with a heavy price to pay. Bloodshed, sacrifice, the price of freedom will, but yet still, Liberia still stands tall. The symbols of strength, unity for all, so let's celebrate and never to be sold. We are what we are
Liberians.
For we crave the red, white, and blue, the blue stars forever. God heal Mama Liberia.
Person on our list, let me start with Mr. MacMillan Vaye. He's the current chairman for Liberians Community in Rwanda. Mr. Vaye, thank you for honoring our program. We are excited to have you. And also, we want to recognize Mr. Lee Doma. He's the Secretary General of Liberians here in Rwanda. Mr. Doma, we are excited to have you here at our program. And next, we want to recognize Mr. Emmanuel Patrick. He's the elected chairman, taking over very soon for Liberians in Rwanda. And also, let me recognize Ms. Awanika Minor, former financial secretary of Liberians here in Rwanda. And let me switch on my left to recognize Miss Florence Ingabare. She's a financial expert. Let me make that clear. So those that are standing in front of us is an opportunity to network with her and see how you can find your way through here in Rwanda. Thank you. So let me move on to recognize Mr. Faustin Mbabazi. He's the Dean of Students here at UTB. Yeah, we need more clap for him. He's the one that made the program successful. So we say thank you, sir. We appreciate you. We cannot give you anything back. We just want to say thank you. All right. Then we want to recognize Mr. Kamali Jean Damasin. He's the HOD of law from UTB. You can see he's really loved by the students, Liberians in UTB. We say thank you for your patience. I can see you are one of the first person here, but you're able to be patient to remain with us. We appreciate that. Okay, let me also recognize Mr. Isaiah Timide for joining us today. He's a master's student in Kigali, studying developmental study, also a staff of LIBCOR. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. And let me also recognize Mr. Thomas Yandan. He's the president of Liberians in UTB Kigali. So thank you for coming to celebrate with us here, and this is your home as well. This is UTB Gisenyi. And there are a few more people I want to recognize. They are not here. These are people who were able to stretch hand to us, and we will share the video with them so that they know that they were recognized for their effort, for their little contribution they made. So let me start with Miss Jeanette Coty. She's in the United States. She was able to make some huge contribution toward this program. We want to say thank you, Mama. You are recognized for that contribution. And also, let me recognize Mr. Brooks Gwambe. He's there in Kigali studying his master's program. He would already love to be here, but due to the tight schedule, could not be. So we want to say thank you for joining us. I also want to recognize Mr. Gile from Kigali. He also made a very huge contribution to this program. Probably he might be here doing a sport, but he has a tax in Kigali. He might join us later on. And I also want to recognize a friend of mine called Quina Mwaoba. She was able to make some huge contribution towards this program. So thank you. There will be other recognitions made. You know, we play this program and we are serious about time issue. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Let's have a joyous time together.
We have 3 colors in the house. We have red, we have white, and we have blue. So now I will pick one person from each color. You coming down here? Okay, for color blue. How about the red hats? I'm not confusing what I have for. Change the hats. If you don't change the hat, you can't go to buy So if you know you are team red, that money issue. That money issue. If you know you are for team red, I'll put my care for team red. Remember that. So somebody give me blue. Blue cap. Red, start coming down. Everybody can come together.
Let us please put our hands together and they take their seat. Okay, now a little time. Our next artist is joke by you know, I'll just get a little gist. It can also be funny if you think. Don't take it so personal. I got an issue before where I have an instructor for every time. They say people know why I don't answer questions. So people come here around to like do something, you are working fast to boost it. And then for every time they come to you, because you are doing volunteer work now, so they will come and ask you, you call your name. Then when they reach the give me as long as they say, and then I guy and they want to do checking that.
Thank you everyone for giving me the honor to do this. I'm so excited. But firstly, you guys know our motto, right? In union success is show. So as I shout, our motto say in union show success, and you say it's show. Okay. You ready? You ready? In union show success.
It's show.
Thank you. So before we go forward, I would like to call the Liberian Community in Rwanda leadership forward. Please come forward, Liberian Community in Rwanda leadership. Please come forward.
What's man? Why you keep giving that young girl so?
I'd like to call for all the Liberian Community in Rubavu leadership.
Big German. One shot for the man, two shots for the matter.
Please keep quiet. This is the most important part of our program. Can you please keep quiet, guys? So, I would like the audience to join us as we go Liberia. Then we can cut the cake at the end of it. Are you ready? Yes. A count of 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Everyone who has taken their time to be here, it's a great honor. It's a great honor to be here today to celebrate the 177th independence of our country, Liberia, our motherland. We are so proud, not just because we are Liberians, because of the history our country shares. As the oldest nation in Africa, it comes with great fight. But through resilience and unity, we have been through all, and we are all here today to celebrate that. Because of that, this particular segment in the program was set aside so that we can understand what unity and resilience actually means to the Liberian culture. We ask that you pay keen attention as we are going to go into depth about unity and resilience in the culture and how it has helped develop Liberia. So the panelists are going to be using 5 minutes each to introduce themselves and get the background of the topic. So we start this one.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Our esteemed guests, my fellow panelists here, the organizers, and fellow Liberians in the house. My name is Isaiah J. Timothy. I hold a BSc degree in geology from University of Liberia, and currently I'm pursuing my master's as ULK, Kigali Independent University in Kigali, where I study development studies. Back home in Liberia, I work for Libis as program manager, where purposely I was focused on designing, monitoring, evaluating education projects. In addition to these academic achievements, I also have a great passion for volunteering. So in 2018, I was one of the leading organizations. I formed part of the Hopras at the University of Liberia that hosted the second edition of the Hopras on-campus competition. And I also volunteer for the Liberia Association of Volunteers, where I was heading the civic engagement and community development pillar. I'm honored today to share my perspective on our topic, unity and resilience, celebrating Liberia's journey towards progress. And I would love to do that by disintegrating the topic at first, taking away the keywords, unity, resilience, and progress. Unity in the context of Liberia, when we are discussing, is our national identity. We have used that it enabled us to overcome our political, economical, and social challenges, coming together on people desperate with different travel backgrounds. And in this room, I will encourage us to continue to embrace unity and inclusiveness here in Rwanda, across the world, back home, because it will help us, each and every Liberian, to feel part of the national journey as we move toward development. And Liberian resilient people, that's a fact that everyone knows. Resilience has been demonstrated in our abilities to overcome or face our challenges as Liberian. And so, resilience is something that not just striving through difficult times, but also being able to learn from the past experience, adapting to new situations and circumstances, and then having that never-give-up spirit towards development. So progress, in my mind, is just a product of our unity and our resilience, which is very key for our development, advancing our infrastructure back home in Liberia, in terms of education, health, and other social amenities. So in conclusion, our topic today, unity, resilience, celebrating Liberia's journey towards progress, is just a great reminder of who we are as Liberians, what we are capable of achieving together. And we can only do that by embracing unity, having a resilient spirit, and always striving for progress. So, thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Emmanuel Chairman-elect. I'm a final year student at the University of UTB Kigali campus, where I study accounting. I'm involved with entrepreneurship, humanitarian, and gospel music. That's okay for me. Okay, so it's an honor to be here today to speak about our great nation, Liberia. And it is just fair enough to say that the people of the city chose the right team. So looking at our team, unity and resilience, I'd like to highlight just 2 words from our theme: unity and resilience, Liberia's journey towards purpose. And that is unity and resilience. When we talk about unity, it involves togetherness and solidarity among individuals and groups, where they come together for a common goal and support each other. And resilience, we talk about withstanding, recovering, and adapting to difficult and challenging situations. Not just surviving through those challenging situations, but also finding means to grow through them. Looking at our country history, how we gained our independence, and where we are today, let's go back to a little bit of history. In 1816, when the ACS, that is the organization called American Conservation Society, was founded in the United States of America. The motive of that organization was based on the fact that Black Africans that were considered as slaves were being mistreated, political power used against the Black people. So it was only fair enough at that time to resettle them to Africa, where they can have their own free will. And that would happen through the ACS. So from the period of 1820 to 1843, there were a lot of Black slaves that were settled in West Africa, Liberia. In 1846, the first Black governor of Liberia, Gisenyi, instructed the legislature to declare Liberia as an independent state, but in the form where they will still have that connection with the ACS. And that happened in 1847. Today we have our Independence Day on July 26, 1847. Gisenyi became the first president of Liberia. Up to 1870s, the ACS, some northern government states and colonization chapters were still sponsoring Liberia, despite the fact that there was an independent state at that time. They were still sponsoring them financially, and by whatever means, the people of Liberia needed the support. Up to the 1920s, our country, Liberia, was known for exploitation of natural resources, especially in the rubber industry, through our company that we have today, Liberia, called Firestone. Our country economy was at a very high peak, and everything was okay until 1980, when the American Liberians took over and started to rule the people of Liberia, treat them, exhibit the same attitude, and gave them the same experience that happened in America. And because of that, our country suffered a 2-time civil war, which runs from 1989 to 1997, the first civil war. And the next one ran from 1999 to 2003. Looking at our history, it is just fair enough that after all the trials and temptation and tribulations that we went through as a nation, today in our country we were able to put our differences aside and work together to come and bring our nation to where we are today. It is just fair enough for me to say that the marks of unity and resilience are seen on the people of Liberia. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Emmanuel Patrick. I'm a final year law student at the University of Lay Adventist of Kigali. And I also serve at the African Law Students Association as National President of Liberia, and as well as the Secretary of Parliament, the African Union Students Platform Parliament. And recently, I was elected chairperson of the Liberian Community in Rwanda. So to proceed further, let me say it is a privilege and an honor to sit in your midst to discuss our country's independence, to discuss unity and resilience, all centered around our country's independence. So to progress into this discussion, eloquently define unity and resilience. So I just want to highlight a few points of how our nation have united, to stand against certain injustices, and how our ancestors were resilient in ensuring that we declare our independence. So like Ms. Arenika said, in 1816, the ACS was established, and in 1818, there were two representatives of the ACS that were sent to Liberia, as we know it today, to search for a land for the repatriation of free black slaves from the US. In 1820, the first group of settlers went to Liberia, 88 in total, and 3 agents from the ACS, the American Colonization Society. Moving further, when those 88 settlers went to Liberia, there were natives already on ground. Those natives fought. They were very resilient, because when those free slaves came, they came back with the ideology that they got from the US. After they were marginalized in the US, they were suppressed in the US, they came back with that same ideology and decided to suppress the natives that were on ground. The natives then could not accept that. And that is why in our history you will understand that one of our famous kings, called King Sao Bosu, he is also referred to as King Boswin. He said in one of his famous quotes that the Americans are my people, my country is their country. Because of King Sao Bosu, there was a series of issues that arose between both the settlers and the natives. Some of those issues, he had to resolve them, but he created problems as well. And because our people resisted those settlers that came and the agents and their ideologies they came with, King Sao Bosu again in one of his famous quotes, because he was one of the most famous and most feared kings in the region at the time. He said to the people, "Haven't you sold your land and received payment? If so, let the Americans have their land. Whosoever is not satisfied with my decision should say it that I will cut off his head off his shoulder, like I did to old King John on my first visit to the pole." That was how King Sao Bosu settled the dispute between our people. But before going up to independence in 1847, our people stood firm for what they believed in. They stood firm for their lands. They were not willing to give their lands to the Americans. History have taught us in most instances that we were a colony under the United States of America. And since today is independence, since we are discussing how we gain independence, I feel it is only reasonable that we try to provide these clarities. We have never been a colony under the United States of America. The third president of the United States of America, Thomas Jefferson, was one of those individuals who supported the the ideology of the establishment of a land for free slaves. But who was Thomas Jefferson? Thomas Jefferson himself was a slave master. Thomas Jefferson himself owned 600 slaves in his lifetime. Thomas Jefferson, when he was alive, only freed 2 slaves. And after he passed, 5 slaves was freed from the 600 slaves he owned at the time. So moving further, our people having suffered at the hands of the U.S. in North America, and they have been brought back to their home, decided that they can no more remain in this state of suppression. They said they could no more remain in this situation where they are controlled, even though unfortunately after 177 years, we are still under the U.S. After 177 years, we are still calling for the de-Americanization of our country. But we today just want to point out how resilient our people were, how they stood together in 1847 and said no. When you read the Declaration of Independence, it clearly tells you that these people went through a lot at the hands of their masters in the Northern Americas. And they decided that they cannot continue with that kind of situation. And that was how in 1847, they signed the Declaration of Independence. 11 men signed the Declaration of Independence. So moving further in terms of recent time with the issue of resilience, Liberia in World War I, some of you may not be aware, but Liberia in World War I was pressured by the US, the French, and Britain to declare war on their economic ally at the time, which was Germany. Liberia declared war on Germany for the first time, even though in 2023, we do not have 10,000 men in our armed forces. Imagine World War I, how many men we had in our armed forces. But we were pressured to declare war on Germany. We stood the test of time. When all of those powers, the Allied powers, stood with us at the time, and that was how we went into an agreement of 1942. But moving further, I will discuss that agreement. During World War II, we declared again, we were suppressed again and pressured for the second time to declare war on Germany again. We still stood the test of time, and 177 years later, today we are still an independent nation. We can sit here and say Happy Independence Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks to all of my fellow members for all of the deliberations. My name is Lee Doma. I'm the outgoing Secretary General for the Liberian Community in Rwanda. And my man Jurabian wait for me to remove that whole thing right now. So, sitting here today to discuss our country's independence, I'm so proud because Liberia remains the hub for independence and unity in Africa. That's unarguable. But if we should discuss unity in Liberia, in Africa, if we should be discussing independence, it's always good to give credit to who led you to becoming an independent state. I would like to recognize proudly, unapologetically, the United States of America. The US led us, or led the entire Africa to independence today. In Liberia, back in 1812, 1813, 14, and 15, you used to have places you call the Crown Coast, you had the Kisi land, you had the Loma land, you had the Gio or the Dan and Ma land in Nemba. You used to have the Basso land, right? You were all divided. I mean, we were all divided in Liberia. The entire Africa, it went across different nations where we were all being divided across. We didn't have a head, we didn't have a tail. We just operate based on what we speak, right? No immunity. Now, we understand all of the atrocities and all of the violations against our human
as Africans, as Liberians. We understand that the US infringed on our rights by, getting involved with slaves or slave trade, taking us to the US and working, building their mansions and whatsoever, building their economies. But what if we retrospect and say we were divided as different tribes? We never had a country. But the US came in 1816 and said, let's carry on the American colonization society. We understand some of these perspectives, whereas the influx of blacks in the US, freeing these black slaves and the roaming all around the US, it was a threat to even the Americans. So these could be strategies to say, let's send these people back. But sending you back, the ACS was founded, and we understand that the first free slaves landed in 1822. Around 1824, we understand that the name Monrovia was given in honor of James Monroe, who hugely supported the ACS, and many of them. So that's the foundation of the unity of Liberia. The US played that pivotal role in uniting Liberia. Had the US not released free slaves, had the US not sent the ACS to organize Liberia, we understand that Liberia was ruled by colonial power from the ACS. We understand all of these things, but had the ACS not been established, where are you going to be called a country? It was the ACS that gave you the name Liberia, from the Latin word labor, meaning free, right? So if this ACS or the US did not influence you being sent back to your homeland in Africa, where are you going to be called a country like Liberia now? So I was given that respect to the United States of America, and Liberia being the hub of unity and independence in Africa, we understand that the United States being the hub, right, for establishing unity and independence in Africa. All African nations must give credence to the US. So we come back to say that we have to relate Liberia's unity, independence, and political landscape to the story animal farm. I don't want to go deep into too much history because of time. I think the moderators are just looking at me. So you get to understand that you yearn for justice. You say the ACS cannot keep ruling us. We need independence. We want to rule ourselves, and you cry all out. Now you got the independence. While leading your own country, you still came back and said, we have this particular group, the American Liberians, that are, oversee everything. The indigenous people, there were about 11 tribes that were in Liberia before the first arrival of those settlers. You understand that these people who came and saw you on your land are being like, you cannot own land to XYZ location like in Congo Town, in Central Monrovia, previously Greater Monrovia, and all of these places. So as the story goes on, the indigenous became angry, right? There were agitations from 1847 all the way to 1989, sparking out the Rest Riot. From 1847 to 1989, you just had these American Liberians becoming presidents, holding top positions. Then now Samuel Kanyento comes out and say, we are going to a coup. The first native ever took the presidency, no matter how means or whatever means they used. So in our history, related to the animal farm, you cry out that you needed your own governance as natives, and then you still come out to treat your fellow natives in a negative manner. These are things that sparked up the Liberian Civil War for the first time. And you also understand that in animal farm, there were 7 golden rules where the animals, the pigs who led the revolution said, no animal should lie in bed, right? No animal should drink whiskey. All of these stories, we know them. Going back to Liberia's story, you understand that you said that you need to own your own land, right? You were being ostracized from owning your own things on your own land. When you assumed power, you marginalized your own people that somehow agitated with you. You assumed power, you treated them badly, and they went and then engaged into war. Liberia went to 14 years of civil unrest. In animal farm, when you agitated, when these animals agitated, we cannot have these humans ruling us and doing whatsoever. At the end of the day, you got a man Napoleon and all of these guys who are actors in that story. assuming power, and then the same rules yesterday that said no animal should lie in bed became no animal should lie in bed with shine. You understand that my man Napoleon and other guys around here were drinking whiskey. They were dining and wanting like even the humans. So Liberians, we are our own problems. Africans as a whole. But let's restrict this to Liberia for now. We have our own problems. You advocate, you have the best policies socially when it comes to education and health. You have best policies when it comes to economy and all of these things. If we should go very deep into the economics of Liberia, we understand that you are not even controlling your own or your own economy. That situation whereby you had about 1.8 billion as your GDP in 1987, 1988, 1989. The Civil War came and wet all of these incomes out. I will just close very shortly. Came and wet out all of these incomes. And at the end of the day, you had just 240 million. Instead of billions, you had 240 million around the civil crisis. So when we relate all of these retrospections to prosperity, when Madam Johnson took over, we understand that we were able to rise gradually to billions of dollars where our GBT or our GDP, we were able to rise, and we are still rising today. But Liberians, we have our own problems, and we need to exercise resilience, we need to exercise unity, and I must close on saying that for us to progress, there's been a great feat that has been taken by Liberia. In 2006, 2005, when we had Julie Bryan, we understood that we needed restorative justice, and at this point now we need retributive justice where we have established the War Crimes Court. So Liberia will progress, and I must say, Happy Independence Day.
I think we're learning a lot about history, right? So guys, we can't be having a panel discussion, then we have people in the audience keep making those. Yeah, so welcome to this session. This session is about questions and answers. We as moderators, we're going to ask our panelists based on their own perspectives of the team. We're going to ask them questions. So I just want to squeeze this question in quickly. So you guys, when we talk about our country like Liberia, Guinea, independent from the US, I see some of our moderators flying and stuff like that. So I want us to have a little chat. So for our moderators, so how do you think the Liberian or independent from the Americans, or we gain our independence on our own?
All right, Liberia gained her independence from the American Colonization Society. It's not the American organization. The US is very smart. That's why they will remain the world superpower. They will always throw the rock and hide their hands. It was the US that actually colonized and presided over Liberia's operations from 1822 to 1839, but they did not use the name United States of America. They used the United or the American Colonization Society. So from the ACS, we stood up and we gained our independence, but we're still being ruled by the same Americans.
I'm so sorry, we're using 1 minute to answer this question.
All right, thank you so much. So if you want to talk about gaining independence, you want to talk about how Liberia was a colony in the first place, how our country colonized. Colonization, basically, it means direct control from another state. Did America have direct control over our state? Never once in our history have we learned that America has direct control over our state. Let's assume we have the Liberian community in Rwanda. It is a group of Liberians that resides in Rwanda. But do we represent the interests of our government? We obviously do not represent the interests of our government. Therefore, we cannot sit here and argue that we gain independence from the US. We gain independence from a group of philanthropists, individuals who sat and said to themselves, we cannot continue to dehumanize these people. We cannot sit and see people going through the struggles of life without just compensation for their works they are doing. The people we gain independence from. Liberia did not gain independence from the US. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the history a little bit again. So, I just want to make this clarification, because my colleague said that if the Americans were not to beat Liberians today, we were not going to have a country or be named Liberia. But firstly, we have to know that before the Americans came, that was the American came in 1812. But the Portuguese were the ones that got in contact with Liberia first. And that was in 1461. So that, whether America wouldn't have gotten in contact with Liberia or Liberians, I can clearly say that I would have loved to see it if America had not gotten in contact with us. Probably we would have been way much better than this. Because in 1970s, after we gained our independence, the ACS tried to make negotiation with the government of America to make Liberia or colony or American colony, and they refused. The American government refused in 1970, or just to establish a protective measure over the country or formal protectorate over Liberia. They refused. What they did was they formed a normal protective, but just coming to intervene if Liberians were targeted. So I do not agree with my colleague.
Independent. Those are questions that at times we should respect and find answers to. Because if we look back, the push for independence was done by American Liberians with no additional playing part. Additional that those that the American Liberians met on ground residing in actual residents of Liberia before the arrival of the settlers that we call American Liberians. They played no part, they were not consulted, it was not inclusive. Independence came about for three reasons. One, because the American Liberian, the free slaves as we call them from America, had issues with the settlers they met on ground. Reason for leadership and for land ownership, that was one. Two, governance. They also realized that they are free from America, repatriated to Africa, and they were free left. But yet, the ACL was still influencing, was still governing them. So they needed that self-governance, that space. So they pushed for independence. And thirdly, we look at economic control. They needed that freedom without the influence of the ACS to freely negotiate with other countries, with other regions in terms of financial issues. And that was not happening. So basically, from my end, and in my opinion, those were three key reasons that they pushed for independence. So, and they pushed for it without the consultation and involvement of the indigenous group. They were now a part. So those who were free from America, repatriated to Africa, by the ACS, were the ones who pushed and declared independence. In fact, there's a difference between gaining independence and declaration of independence. It's just like two different families with two 18-year-olds. One 18-year-old saying that, Papa, I've reached 18 and I can spearhead my own activities. The other 18-year-old is, son, you are free 18 and I think you can spearhead your own activities. So we declare independence, we didn't gain independence. But I think, to answer your question, we got independence from the ACS, who was influenced by the Americans. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Okay, we have heard from our panelists. There are two major arguments or debate going on here.
People, the American that came from America, they are also people, they are also considered Liberians. Now the question is the word unity and resilience we are talking about today, is it the American Liberians that fought for unity that makes Liberia to be Liberia today, or is it the native that fought for resilience and unity that makes Liberia to be Liberia today?
So you just use 30 seconds.
Wow, wonderful question. And that's a whole conversation that we can have today. I would say, to some extent, it's the indigenous or the natives. Because when we gained independence, there was a social crisis between, so we have what we call a hierarchical society where we have one group of people at the top and another at the bottom. So we had the American Liberian called the settlers at the top, in political power, economic, social, class, everything, they were at the top. They had access to school, hospital facility, and what have you. And then we had a native that had no access to those things. That continued until the point that my brother Lee raised about the military coup in 1980. That brought the end to the dominance of the American Liberians. So the issue with unity, that was beyond the civil war that we had. We started to have unity and then for coming together as one people. So I do believe that the indigenous fought for unity that we're talking about today. Because the American Liberian pushed for division. They had that class situation where if you are not a Congo, as we call it Liberia, you can be a partner.
Okay, so I'd like to go with my colleague. Because like we said from our history, in 1970s, when the American Liberians took over, they were treating our people. So, and that was after our independence. Sorry to stay in your questions. I think that the indigenous fought for independence in our country. Yeah.
All right. This is a pretty tricky question. So I will not answer directly. But this is what I can say to you guys. Both the indigenous and the American Liberian played a pertinent role in the declaration of our independence. The both group of individuals were resilient throughout the process. Considering these guys, the American Liberians coming from Northern America, undergoing those treatments they had in Northern America, and joining forces with our natives. Yes, the argument of the American Liberians bringing in a class system, that is another argument for another day. But when it comes to the Declaration of Independence, they all play a role because there were areas at the time, like the places of like Sano, Montserrat, those were different places that came together to declare independence at the time. And I believe the natives were also a part of those individuals that came together to declare our independence. Thank you.
Alright, let me be so brief as my height. So basically, I'm a science student, so I did like to retrospect on the issue of heredity. We understand that genetics, for example, it's like you are meeting with somebody from outside somewhere else and you are getting that gene within your blood or something that has to do with effects on your complexion. So when we understand this thing we call American Liberians, these were not typical Americans. These were people who their parents were, one side of the parents were somehow Liberians who were sent to the US as slaves and they mated with the US or an American citizen and they were able to born them, right? So now, these people were sent to Liberia. I will go back to the story of Animal Farm, whereas people united to advocate for freedom, and at the end of the day, they treated one another bad. One side treated the other side bad. So when it comes to unity in Liberia, both the indigenous and that of the American Liberians, they worked hand in hand to declare themselves an independent state. Let's forget the aftermath, it's a whole novella that we cannot finish today, right? But in a short form, both Americans, the American Liberians and that of the indigenous worked hand in hand to declare independence.
Thank you. So our next question, I want us to focus on young people. A lot of young people across the world, meaning for Liberia, they think that they are not involved in Liberian politics. A lot of young people feel like, I can't contribute to Liberian development. I can't contribute to Liberian progress. So how can young people in Rwanda specifically in Gisenyi, contribute to Liberian progress and development?
All right, so this is the type of conversations we should be having. Young people talking about or discussing issues that matter to young people. In terms of contribution, one thing I often say is that we all in Rwanda and across the world, our degrees that we will earn across the world shouldn't just ripen, but there should be a difference when we return home. In the words of Alexander Gomez, doing the same thing the same way will give you the same results. Currently back home, we see the realities of the operations, how day-to-day activities are done. So we all can contribute only when we have a different perspective, different mindset, when we become innovative, when we will not be thinking that when we return, only government should give us jobs, but become innovative enough to be job creators, to be our own CEOs. That's the way, in my opinion, we can contribute to Liberia. So we shouldn't depend on what the state has for us, but we should also be looking what we have able to offer Liberia.
Okay, we as young people of Liberia, this is something very serious that we need to pay attention to. So the first way I think that we can be able to contribute to Liberia development or help making Liberia a better nation, firstly I would say gathering like this. We young people nowadays, we prefer more social gathering than coming together as a young people, discovering the challenges facing our country and finding means or ways to solve out those challenges. We can have gatherings like this, talk about our country. It will interest you to know that there are many Liberians who do not know the country history. There are many Liberians who travel from Liberia out here, Rwanda to be specific. Like normally I say the Liberians in Liberia are no different from the Liberians in Rwanda. I say that because once a person travels, your mindset should change. Especially when you come to a country, you firstly search the positivities of that country. You look and see what does this country have that is not in my country. How can I be of help to my country? But it will also interest you to know that nowadays we do not care. And I'm going to give it straight to us. In Liberia, our young people suffering from drugs abuse. It is not strange that we all are getting involved in different type of things here in Rwanda. And it's very, very, very challenging for us out here. We should understand that every time we travel, we should be able to think about our nation. We should be able to love our nation in order to build our nation. So, when I speak of gathering like this, there's a conference, a summit coming up in September from the 22nd to the 23rd of Liberians in East Africa, hosting a summit in Kigali to find means and see how Liberians in the diaspora can be of help to our nations. That is some of the ways that we can be able to discuss and find, because in order for you to solve the issues, you firstly have to discover and believe that you have a problem. Liberians out here, we need to change our perspective towards our nation. We need to strive more in order to develop our nation. We can go out, but it is so surprising that a lot of foreigners know us to be violent, know us to be lousy, know us to be a lot of negative things because of how we carry ourselves. So if you, as a Liberians out here, exhibiting the negativity instead of showing that beauty of your country through you in the activities that you get yourself in, it will also be a help to Liberia. Because lastly, if you check on the internet and you want to I was doing a research and they say, is Liberia a safe country to live in? I felt so emotional to see the response because everything online was so bad. But not knowing the fact that Liberians are peaceful, loving people, Liberians are very hospitality. We have a lot of places in Liberia that can be shown to the world. But we outside of Liberia, we are not showing these things about our country. Rather, we are showing the negative part. We are even more negative than the people that are in Liberia. So please, let us engage in gathering like this. Let us try to think about our country, love our country, and try to figure out what are some of the ways that we can develop our country. Thank you.
I just want to appreciate her. She said something that really interests me most. She talked about identifying the problem. And let me be clear with all of us here today. The major problem we have is the problem of patriotism. We can do a survey in here right now, and I can assure you that 90% of us sitting in this room wants to travel to the US, we want to take on the US citizenship, we want to join the military of the US to fight and die for a country we do not even know. And that is our problem. That is the problem. We are not nationalists. Let's look at the country we are in, Rwanda. For me, I study law, so I love to interact with people and get their perspectives on issues. Most of my colleagues who study law, whenever I ask them, what are your visions for your country? It's by starting to be a nationalist, your country first above anything else. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much. We need to engage into what we call precedents when it comes to giving back to the society. If you follow me, you know that I've been very engaged with politics, diplomacy, and somehow throughout my life I've been into leadership, right? Of recent, there may have been allegations that Lidoma, put hands in the cooking jar, for example. You know what decision I took? Just based on these allegations, I was like, there's no need to run for election. I will stand down, get audited, and then make sure that we get at the bottom of that and clear that out. That's what our leaders in Liberia need. We young people need to face allegations and whatever that we may have dwelt into. If we do that, our country is going to be rescued because we understand that one of the major problems in our country is the issue of corruption. Before, we know nationalism and all of these things, right? The issue of corruption is on the rise in Africa as a whole, right? Starting with Liberia, if we young people can be responsible and be accountable about whatever we do, Liberia will rise again. And how can we give back to Liberia? We have to, exercise what we call innovation. We have to be innovative. What you know up here, what you can create up here, and apply that to your country, right? You don't even need to have a dam. You don't need to have a mafaranga, right? You can create how to raise money to impact the society. And I will reference my sister Aronega Vaye here 1 or 2 years back. Aronega runs the Aro Music that I was once opportune to exercise my acting skills and whatsoever, right? I can act a little bit too. So, not just singing, but using the gift of singing, influencing others who have talents to appear at a program and raise some funds from attendees and other people you write. And she was able to send more than $1,000 to Liberia to help kids who are underprivileged, who could not pay, who their parents could not pay their fees. That's how you give back to the society. So what you know, put that to action, and then be able to contribute to Liberia, whether by economic means or whatsoever. And I would just like to close on that, on this step, right? That we are that small to do anything big. We can do it.
So, because of time, we can close here and take questions from the audience.
I'm a stakeholder in this community, and then my question goes directly to Mr. Committee, right? Yeah, so at first you started by relying on unity and resilience, and then as a chairperson for the Board of Panelists, we expected you to be explicit in your presentation, which what for me I could get from you was just your career background, but moving forward to the subject, you did not explain also. So I'd like for you to elaborate on the subject of the day today, and also after that I have a question to
we have specific, maybe because of time, of being that we diverted or we're giving a guideline with diverse area to kind of mention. So my opening statement mandated me to introduce myself and give my perspective on the topic, which I talk about unity. And in terms of unity, we all know it's our national identity, as I said before, and that has been demonstrated through maybe going through 14 years of civil war, coming out stronger, like similar to Rwanda. Today you can be in Rwanda and you can't determine who's a Tutsis, who's a Hutus. And similar to Liberia, we've gone through 14 years of civil war, we came through that, and today we are united, we are one people. Often people say we have a fragile democracy, fragile peace, but we've gone from 2006 up to present, about 2 decades. And we've been together. We have had situations that could bring all riots or political upheavals, but yet we have held together in terms of, because that happened because of our unity. So we have had 3 different democratic elections from 2006, 2011, 2017, and now 2023. 2023 we have another election. So the results of the election, we know back home, you were there, you understand the type of tensions that comes into play when we have the type of political activities. But it's because of our unity and our resilient spirit that have led us to proceed beyond electoral processes. So I think I only relied on the key words in the team because we were given a guideline and we thought that the conversation would have been driven, relative to thank you.
It's going to 2 people, that Aro and Emmanuel Patrick. You both spoke about patriarchism, and I want for you to do some connection of dots. Like you named one of some of your colleagues when they graduate, they want to come back to their country. In fact, they don't want to leave Rwanda. He gave the scenario of Rwanda. So now we are here studying. What additional thing do you see in Rwanda? 1, 2, other places that we Liberians are out? Because it was a problem. People that came from out, they went and met the indigenous and they were fight. So this same fight could happen. We can't study out and then we go back. Different kind of mindset. We are seeing different perspective of life. So what kind of advice can you give to us? We are here. So when we go back with a mindset that is about growth, that is about unity. I think the question is to 2 people. Thank you.
Be a law-abiding citizen, because it's one thing that we Liberians refuse to practice. There are many laws and rules in our country, but implementation and practice by citizens is one of the problems. And looking at Rwanda, this is a very law-abiding country, and the citizens follow the law directly. If they say don't fight, obviously they don't fight. They have a way to settle a dispute. They believe sitting around table and having a fruitful conversation and finding solution to that dispute. That's number 1. Number 2, upon your return to Liberia, love your country. I can say that. Because once you establish law for your country, there's nothing you cannot do. You will push yourself beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. SG-elect. I believe the question you asked was, how do we mitigate the different ideologies, considering that we are going back to Liberia and reintegrate integrating into the society and there are different ideologies there. Is that a question? So in regards to that, I believe that we all know what is good and right. All of us in this room, we know what is good and right. When I discussed the issue of patriotism, I was discussing the issue of love for your nation. If you do love Liberia, let's assume you go to places like China and there are negative actions in China. If you love your country, do you take the negativities in China back to your country? I believe you will not do so. So what we want to do is we want to go out, engage with other nations, understand how they are progressing, specifically Rwanda. Because we in Rwanda have similar history. Rwanda coming from 1994 to 2024, 30 years, and see how this nation has progressed. And Liberia having gone through 14 years of civil unrest, there is a lot to be learned from this country. So what we want to do is we want to learn those positive things from Rwanda. We want to learn those positive things from other nations that we travel to. Take those things back. And let me say this to all of us here. Change never comes easy. The change you see in Rwanda today never came easy. It came as a result of being strict. It came as a result of having principles and values. We as a nation need to define the values and principles that guide our nation. If we do, every ideologist will be carrying back home. We can be able to mitigate it with the ideologists already there to take our country forward. Thank you.
Even though the program delayed, but they are still here. To the guests, we say thank you for leaving your busy schedule to be here. What we can get from this panel discussion is mainly where Liberia has come from. And since Liberia has come from there have been some forces that have been driving Liberia to a certain point. And these forces we consider to be resilience and unity. Because of resilience for the native, we are here today encouraging independence. Because of the resilience from the American Liberia, we are also encouraging the independence which we are celebrating today. And in terms of unity, because both the American Liberian with their different system and their different life came to Liberia, and the native with their own different system decided to come together and give Liberia an independence that we are celebrating today. And this independence is not just something that is common, but to be the oldest African nation is something very big because of us. That's why our panelists were encouraging us as Liberians, outside Liberia. One thing we have to prioritize is being patriotic. If we are here and then we keep to gather knowledge, we should be able to go back Liberia and then develop our country because that's one of the reasons we have left Liberia. So in terms of resilience and unity, as the American Liberians and the native have come together and given us this independence that we all are proud to celebrate today, we should be the ones to keep their legacy going. We should be the ones to go back, help Liberia, build Liberia, be a better Liberia instead of going backward and backward to problems that are not even needed for the country. So we say thank you for your time.
Thank you. So before we close, we're going to ask our panelists for their closing statement also. But I want us to take two things home. They are very key. One thing will be, as a young person, me as a young person, how can I contribute to Liberia progress and development? One. And another thing is, maybe it might be an argument you could say, did we gain our independence from the Americans or we gain our independence from our own? So to our panelists, we would just ask for a closing statement, 1 minute each.
Yes, too much, 1 minute. All right, so it's a privilege having this conversation and coming to a logical conclusion. So time fast me and seeing the signal from back. So my takeaway would be I will encourage each and every Liberian here across the world and back home on two things. One, in order to aspire, as we aspire towards development, making our country better, we should today, tomorrow, in the near future, we all will assume leadership back home in Liberia. So we should have national agenda instead of political agenda. From 2005 to 2024, we have seen political agenda instead of national agenda. Every government comes with their own agenda, and after 6 years, that agenda expires. So we encourage national agenda. Rwanda, for example, from 2000, they created a national agenda that drafted out to 2020. So in order for us to develop, we should have a national agenda. And the next thing to conclude is we should be research-oriented. Our decision for development should be based on empirical evidence. We should make research. If we want to improve health facilities, we should make research. If we want to improve schools or education, we should make research. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you to the leadership of Gisenyi for inviting me to be part of this panelist discussion and to be one of the panelists. And it's an honor to be the only females among my gentlemen. Yes, actually, I was really excited receiving the invitation. So I'd like to leave us with this. Be a Liberian citizen and do away with tribalism. Because of time, we could not go into that, which we actually plan for to talk about, because it's one of the main challenges that we face. And even outside of Liberia, we in Rwanda here, we still practice tribalism. We want to affiliate with our tribe, our kinsmen. And because of that, now in Liberia, you see there are certain parts of Liberia that develop. Nimba and few other places. Because I'm from Nimba, I have to go back and develop Nimba. But once we do away with that mindset, we can be able to develop our country. Please, Liberians, let us try to limit the high practice of tribalism and be a Liberian. I guess nobody in here knows my tribe. People say I'm from Nimba, but I'm not from Nimba. I always tell people I'm a Liberian. It's because I'm one person who stands against tribalism hardly, but I do have a tribe. But yes, please let us try to play with that. Thank you.
Sawa, manakoze chance.
I want to extend thanks and appreciation to the leadership of Gisenyi, specifically His Excellency Priest, for affording us the opportunity to be gathered with you guys today. It is an honor to sit and interact with my people. You know, to close, let me just say this. There are two notable agreements Liberia have gone into with the United States of America. The agreement of 1926 and the agreement of 1942. The agreement of 1926, which was the Firestone Rubber Plantation Agreement, and the agreement of 1942, which was a Defense and Security Agreement. None of those two agreements have yielded any good results for our nation, Liberia. Over 98 years since that agreement, the 1926 agreement was signed, today we still buy rubber slippers in Liberia for around $5 USD. And the agreement of 1942, that was basically a defense and security agreement that led to us declaring war on Germany at the time and subjecting our nation to suppression from the US and its allies. Today, in 2023,
you are studying various fields of studies here. What are you taking back home? When you go back to Liberia, put big brown file on your arm and say, my name is Lee Duma, I got BSc and Masters in Rwanda. I need a job, and they pay you something around 200, 500, or what? Is that going to satisfy you? What are you taking back home? Be innovative, engage into small and medium enterprises, business, and whatever. See how to solve some of these problems that we have in Liberia. Don't go begging for a job, go and create more and more jobs for Liberia's prosperity. Thank you.
So, thank you for listening.